I can't scowl the way I did.
Did you notice? Yes, I did.
I didn't.
You
Did
did?
you notice? No, good.
To call to order the Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Monday, March 7th, 2022. And we have some absences tonight, so we've changed our agenda. Let me just be clear, since these are public servants, Mr. Moody-Varon will not be here this evening. Mr. Farley had a family emergency, an illness in the family, and Ms. Patrick will have to leave early. So we've changed the agenda to accommodate the members that are here. And we've moved claims to the beginning of the agenda, otherwise we would not have a quorum. So at this time, I'll turn over to Ms. Patrick, who's Chair of Claims.
I'd like to open claims, and I would like to call for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
All in favor?
You second.
Oh, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so
and finance. You good? All right. We're back, Mr. Carney.
I'd like to open up the Finance Committee. The first item on the agenda is the 2020-2022 say that quick. HUD Emergency Solutions Grant, ESGCB. Ms. Deal.
Good evening, everyone. This is just in relation to a contract amendment with CARES of New York and Bethesda House, and it's related to the Emergency Solutions Grant that was awarded through the CARES Act. It's just a transfer of funding from the Rapid Rehousing and Homeless Prevention to the Street Outreach Program. So they're requesting to transfer $25,000 to the Street Outreach Program. So this is just a resolution accepting this amendment and authorizing the mayor and his designee to enter a contract to effectuate the agreement.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. I'd like to open administrative efficiency. The first item on the agenda is a seeker for Barrett Street and South Avenue. Ms. Dio.
This is the seeker determination for the rezone of approximately 3.91 acres from R2 to the C4 downtown zoning. The Planning Commission made a recommendation at their last meeting, and this first resolution is for the City Council to adopt the negative seeker declaration, the determination of non-significance.
Are there any questions? Can I have a motion? Oh, ma'am.
Question, Mr. Chairman. There was a little bit more opposition to the Planning Commission than I had expected. But this was going to be more simple and straightforward, and I don't know if the council just to take that into consideration as you move forward. I thought this was going to be kind of simple and straightforward in some of the neighborhood. In fact, it's not unified in this undertaking.
Ms. Porterfield.
So, do we have information that, kind of talks about that any place?
I don't have the minutes from the Planning Commission, but they could be made available to the council.
But they had enough, they had the majority that voted it through, is that's why it's back here with us?
Correct.
Yes. Now, the one they did, so this would be separate from this rezone effort, but the Planning Commission did recommend that this, in the C4 downtown mixed use, that convenience stores would be required to obtain a special use permit. So that was kind of one of the recommendations along with this. I think some of the concerns were just around that and just the unknown of what would be developed in the area. Again, the reality is that it is adjacent to the C4 and the zoning kind of changes mid-block. But yes, I'm aware that there were comments just around the uncertainty. And the other recommendation from the Planning Commission was for the consideration of requiring that convenience stores get a special use permit to open.
Is there any time sensitivity to this?
This is something that's been in alignment with the comprehensive plan, just other things that we're looking at, and just the lack of kind of use of the lots there. So there's no immediate time constraint. If you wanted to wait to see, something else, that's a possibility.
My recommendation is we hold off until we get the minutes of the Planning Commission. We can look at those and then proceed.
I would agree.
So, a motion to table it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So the next item.
The next one too,
Same
right?
thing.
Yes.
So
So I would need a motion to table rezoning.
So moved.
Can I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is update to the county multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Mr. Wallen.
Hello.
Aye.
So, every 5 years, the county updates our regional hazard mitigation plans. Effort is led by EMA at the county with all of the local jurisdictions within the county taking place, we have to put and outline our objectives, goals, and agree on kind of just a general work plan for not only the city, for the county. This plan is then updated. We work with FHWA, I think it's Homeland on it, and then it goes on to the record. We have it, and then we're eligible for federal funding to actually implement part of the plan. But one of the things that we've done is we put a berm around the water wells years ago. We're looking at doing some things at the wastewater treatment plant. There was a plan at one point, maybe put a generator at City Hall. It's all mitigation plans so that we are prepared when hazards do come, and we have to evaluate what hazards that we would have. So we're not earthquakes, but we are snow. Lately, even tornado. We've had power outage. We actually identified trees in the plan, like for the first time, because when we do have these issues with high winds, the trees are the villain when they take down power, then they cause the issues. So we put together that plan. I did have the link. It's a very large plan. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the link, but the link is there for the entire county. The city just has an excerpt. But I didn't want to provide it to you because it's several hundred pages I've printed. So this
Good
is
bedtime reading tonight.
Yeah. Well, if there are any questions on it, this is something that's required for the city to be able to receive federal funding to implement the plan.
Are there any questions? Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is to authorize the mayor to go into an agreement with Metroplex for the Mohawk Harbor Dock Project grant.
Yep. So several years ago, actually Metroplex, and we have Mr. Dillon here, working with the Leslie Group and the city, completed and was successfully awarded a CFA for the construction of a large vessel dock and trail along the Mohawk River. As you may be aware, Mohawk Harbor currently has a harbor, but the harbor typically has a limitation of roughly 40 feet in length for boats. I know that sometimes they get a little bit larger than 40 in there. However, the boats that traverse between, say, Chicago and New York City, some of them can be upwards of over 100 feet. These boats will not fit there. So the idea is that we would be able to capture this as a tourist destination, also use this as possibly something for recreational boating, and also, what is the term, commercial, where we would have maybe a larger vessel like a Dutch Apple or something where we can actually do cruises. And this is all possible using this. Part of that is public access to the dock, so that the public can use it for looking at kayaking, fishing, general access to the dock. And we're looking to incorporate it directly into the Alco Heritage Trail, which goes along the river. So to do this, we put out an RFP last year. We received 2 proposals. We selected a team of Waterfront Solutions and MJ Engineering. We entered into a contract with them late last year. Part of that was working out this agreement here between the city and Metroplex due to some complexities in the design and getting the agreements together. We have just started surveying a project. We have geotech lined up because these docks are going to require footings to anchor them to the river. So we don't have any plans. We don't have anything. I know that there was some conversation about renderings. Renderings are renderings. They were used as part of the grant application. They're nice to look at, but they're not really representative of what we're doing because we don't know what we're doing. So this agreement here is to cover those design costs that we talked about. That was part of the thing. The discrepancy was our original estimate had a design cost that was slightly less. Metroplex agreed to cover that difference, which is what we're talking about here, so that we can move forward. There is no city costs. This is paid for by the CFA, this Metroplex share, and then the local share is actually being covered by the Gillespie Group through a partnership. So, that our local share is actually nothing. So that's what this agreement is for. I don't know if you had a chance to look through it. I don't know if Mr. Dillon, if you had anything you wanted to.
No, you did a great job as always, Chris. I just, we have the biggest waterfront project in upstate New York and Mohawk Harbor. It's a huge success. Talk to Brian Stratton, he trumpets it all the time. It's the biggest, most successful waterfront project. For so many years, Schenectady was cut off from our waterfront. I grew up here, of course. The alcohol plant closed in '69. Gary talks about it all the time, right? For 50 years it sat there rusting and no one could recreate, no one could connect to the river. We've connected to the river again. We have a marina, people rent kayaks and boats there. They can dock their boats there, they can go to restaurants, they can go to the casinos, the 2 hotels. We really didn't have a dock for, as Chris said, a larger tour boats could tie up. Prior to COVID, we had some real interest from some of these boats, they call them loopers. They go around to Chicago, up the Mississippi, and that would be really exciting to bring, you know, some tourism dollars. But also for people here that want to go out on the river and fish, go out and launch their own kayak or canoe, instead of renting one at the marina. It's really for the people to be able to go out, and also it's like the ski teams are really excited about it, the other groups that want to recreate the river. We really thank the Gillespie Group for providing over $300,000 that would have otherwise been the city's match. We had a little bit of an overage on the design costs. That's where Metroplex is putting in $75K. The rest is funded by a state grant, no cost to the city, except for Chris's time, and he's been great. I want to thank the mayor, because we actually had Secretary of State Rosado come out and tour it, and Gary's, you know, really made a plea for this grant to be awarded, and that really made a critical difference in getting the grant. So we're really excited about this. A couple of questions came in, we did some answers for you and sent those around, but we're really at an early stage this year. There'll be a year of design work. There'll be public input sessions as part of the contract, and hopefully we build this next year and connect our community back to the waterfront in a way we've really never had before. So we're really excited about this. Appreciate the council moving forward to accept $75,000 for Metroplex.
Are there any questions?
No, I'm glad they accept 75.
Checks in the mail.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great.
Next is authorize the mayor to go into an agreement with Metroplex for a pedestrian safety action plan.
I'll go over this side, I'm more comfortable on this side. So what this is, another agreement with Metroplex. I actually was here, I believe, 2 weeks ago, maybe 4, talking about the PSAT, and there was a question about the shares. And we talked about, I said, I believe the Metroplex share was between 200 and 300. So this is, it is 300. So what this is that the PSAT is a federally 100% eligible project. However, due to the location of it being around City Hall and the combined efforts of Metroplex and the city to do a 2-way J in front of the post office, we thought that we would want to do that all in the same project at the same time instead of 2 contractors, 2 things. So it was decided that the share would be split between Metroplex and the city. The local share is approximately $600,000, 300 of it to the city, 300 of it to Metroplex was this agreement. So at the end of that project, we will have upgraded pedestrian signals around 2-way J in front of the post office, and then decorative crosswalks and pedestrian refuge areas.
Are there any questions? Ms. Porterfield?
So we already have the funds already allocated for this?
Yes.
In the city, 300,000.
Yeah, our funds are allocated, correct, yes.
All right.
We have all of our paving funds, I manage those, we have more than enough money to cover this, and our paving program.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in good shape, and then Metroplex, of course, is in good shape, so we're ready to go. And this contract has actually already been awarded to Callahan. We've already had meetings, they're looking to start, you know, the beginning of the spring, so this is just accepting of some money.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Can I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is to authorize the issuance of a revocable permit to Unique Lounge for a sign and awning.
Yep, this is a revocable permit. Unique Lounge is on Duane Avenue. It has been historically a bar and restaurant. I believe they have a new owner, same owner, I believe, new tenant. I believe that's what it is. And so what we're looking is revocable permit for the sign that overhangs the right of way and the awning.
It's a committee.
Oh, yeah, I was just waiting for Mr. Colvin.
I believe this property is still owned by the city. The city council previously authorized an option agreement for Princess Rollins on this. So in order for her to exercise that option, she needs to get all of her ducks in a row before we transfer the property. So this is part of that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, so we didn't, she's not owning it yet then?
Not yet, but she's trying to get everything, that was, part of the option was that she had to get certain approvals before we transferred her the property.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that one. Have a motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is a ceremonial resolution for St. Patrick's Day. Mr. Williams.
Thanks, Mr. Palladini. The investments of Irish Americans in the city of Schenectady and also throughout the country is something that does not need any discussion. I am very excited to work on this project. I know, trying to think of the proper words to say, me being a proud African American, definitely supporting the legislation last month was something that was near and dear to my heart, but that definitely exceeds beyond my specific race. So I'm excited to take into consideration the proposed resolution that was submitted by Mr. Owen Wilson. I had the opportunity to attend their last meeting at the Hibernian. They're a group of impassioned and motivated individuals. They had I think it was a cabbage dinner or something like that, or no, a fish dinner. But staying on task, definitely excited. I want to make sure the resolution that we do pass forward as a council is a message that we can adopt as the city of Schenectady. So I've already had discussions with Mr. Wilson. There will be some adjustments. I can forward those out to the council members for their consideration, but unless there are any questions.
I think we'll do a motion, and we'll assume that everything's be okay. We'll wait till we get this, but do a motion to move it along, and then if there's some issue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is Planning Commission appointments, Mr. McCarthy.
Again, so vacancies on the City Planning Commission. Submitted 2 names for your consideration today. Darren Taller Jr. and Colin Evers. Ask the council's favorable consideration.
Any questions?
No, I just do have a statement. So I'm glad to see that the Planning Commission is getting more members, because there were people leaving. Unfortunately, we had someone pass away. So they do important work. So I'm glad to see that we are filling those seats. So I would definitely make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is the Advisory Committee on ARPA funding, Ms. Porterfield.
Okay. So just to kind of give an update of where we were, at our last meeting, we asked for people to submit their names. And at this point, and we still have a week to go, there are 24 people who have submitted their names, which is really not a bad number. I sent out, because we may have to, based on what the recommendations are, we may have to cut it down. So I sent out an email with the draft application. So I did get some responses to that, and just so you know, we really, I would like to any final edits by tomorrow, so we can actually put together the final document and be ready, because we have said that on the 14th all names need to be to Sam. So I think that by the 15th we should be in a position that we can actually email out all of the applications. I know there was a suggestion to put it on the city website. However, we're targeting specific people, and I don't want people to get the impression that if it's on the city website that they still have an opportunity to apply, because that's not what we agreed on. So that's where we are, and of course there'll be a cover letter to go with that application. And so I'm just excited to see that people are lining up.
That's great.
So just an update.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I was the person that suggested putting it on the website, but, and that's fine, that's a good point. But it would be great if we could make it a fillable PDF, so even when it gets sent back out to the people that are sending their names to Ms. Maiku, that at least it would be easier for them to just fill in the application instead of having to handwrite it or anything like that. I don't know how to do that, but I'm assuming there's someone here that...
Well, we did have that discussion based on that recommendation, and for those who can do this fillable PDF, that's great. There's some people that cannot, as you said, and sometimes with fillable PDFs, when you send them from one application to the next, the information doesn't exactly gel. Because I talked to Ms. Michael about that, because based on your recommendation. So that was a concern. So that to make sure that that was, for Ms. Michael, who's going to be receiving all of these, that to make sure that the information translates correctly. So we're sending it out in hard copy. We're going to ask them to then return it to her. We don't want any more challenges, if somebody's application doesn't come through properly or something like that. So, and a lot of people can't do the fillable PDF. You'd be surprised. So that was, as I said, I discussed with Ms. Michael based on your recommendation, and she also got that as well, and that was her concern, since she is the one who will have to do the work on that.
Okay. And I know there were a couple of other questions still. I think if we're going to have them, last time we talked about folks needing to reside in the city of Schenectady, I think that should probably.
I think that should be a record. That should be a
put that on there.
Well, it would be actually on the cover letter, because there'll be a cover letter to go with it. So people know, they won't even have to get to the application, and once they reach the cover letter, they'll know, if this doesn't apply to me, I don't even need to go any further.
Okay, and then I just really do think that probably asking Mr. Colden to look at the pieces that are more sort of legal, I think would be a good idea in terms of the language that we put into this.
Well, when I sent out the original email, I specifically asked Mr. Colden to do that. When I sent out the email that all of you got, I specifically said, Mr. Andrew, could you look at this? So that was in there.
I sent, this afternoon, proposed revisions to the conflict of interest statement to Ms.
Oh, great.
Maiku and President Porterfield for their review.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And that's the only thing that I had, other than the
So
little edits, little copy edits.
We'll incorporate, there were other members who had some concerns. I'll speak to this one, which they said about hobbies and interests. So part of it is, I see this as developing a volunteer base. We may, from some of these people who send in their applications, maybe people that would eventually sit on other committees when we have vacancies, because that's another conversation we're going to have a little bit down the road in terms of filling vacancies. So having that information, and we could put it as optional, which was also a recommendation. One person just put it as optional. That kind of gives us a little bit more about people. We're not, trying to, we don't want to hang out with them necessarily, or maybe we do. But just to have that information, and most people, and that to me is an easy part to fill out. You know what your hobbies and to start, and then again, just to be able to have a base of people that we could, if they don't get to sit on this committee, because it's conceivable if we get way too many. Right now we're at 24 and we talked about 15. We could still have those people and then be able to reach out to them, because based on their interests, would you be interested in sitting on this committee or that committee? So that's just a way that we don't always have to start recruiting people and looking for names when we have vacancies. So that was the thought behind that.
My only concern was the last little bit, but I was waiting to see what the final thing is, because I knew it was being worked on. So otherwise I was relatively okay with, there were some typos and whatnot, but that's easy to clean up. Anything else? Mr. Williams?
So just for clarification, it's 24 names in total, or is it 24 additional to the 15 previously? Total. All right. And then just a comment, more or less, I would just recommend having hard copies available at City Hall in case individuals don't have access to the internet. And then I definitely don't want to recommend additional actions if I'm not willing to put myself forward. So if anyone has any issues filling it out, I will volunteer myself to get on the phone with you and help fill out, just to make sure everyone feels like they have their voice being considered.
I'm not sure that we should probably offer that from you. Maybe that should come from the staff or something.
Staff article.
Yeah, I think that would be, I don't know, it just seems like on the edge there. Yeah, with a council member doing it.
And just to the earlier point, I think if when Ms. Micah gets the name, she'll be sending out the application. So if we have extra hard copies available here, it's the same thing as having it on the website. You know what I mean? That other people past the deadline of March 14th could just pick up the hard copy. So sorry.
I had a brain fart.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm feeling the same way. So.
Anything further? All right. I'd like to go have a motion to go into executive session for sale of properties.
So moved.
Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're in executive session.